Hi, I'm Nicole Feta, and I want to show you how to make banana bread made with homemade sprouted flour. But before I do, I want to explain to you why it's important to eat breads or whole grains that's sprouted or fermented. We keep hearing in the news how important it is for us to eat whole grains because they contain fiber and vitamins and minerals. But unfortunately, whole grains, along with nuts and seeds and some beans, contain a substance that may be hurting us, and this substance is called phytic acid. Phytic acid binds with zinc, magnesium, iron, and calcium, and basically just pulls these minerals right out of the body. So there's something you can do, though, to get rid of the phytic acid in these whole grains, and that's either sprouting or through fermentation. I've got here some organic whole grains that I bought, and I'm going to soak and sprout them in this jar here to get some or most of the phytic acid out so I can absorb these very important minerals that are contained in the whole grains. This is just a mixture of organic spelt and organic hard winter wheat berries. You can get many different kinds of whole grains online, like kamut or millet, or even you could use brown rice, but I just have a mixture of these two. And then later on I'm going to show you another even faster way of fermenting your grains so you can make super healthy bread, because right now, unless you're eating sprouted or fermented breads or other foods made with whole grains, you may be deficient in calcium, iron, zinc, and magnesium, and maybe even some other minerals. So I'm just going to put my whole grains into a large ball jar. Like I said, this is just a mixture of spelt and wheat berries. And I'm going to cover it with this lid that has a screen on the top. Go ahead and fill your jar with fresh water, covering the grains completely. Make sure you put a lot more water than just covering, because they're going to expand. And let this sit for 8 hours or overnight. In order to get the phytic acid out of your nuts and seeds, you want to make sure you soak them as well. A lot of people choose pumpkin seeds and almonds and sunflower seeds as a snack, which these foods are very healthy, of course, but you want to make sure you soak them for at least 8 hours or overnight. You can dry them on a tray in your dehydrator or maybe a warm oven, but it's very important that you soak these foods because they contain phytic acid as well, and this will just pull out those minerals right out of your body. Soak your nuts and seeds. Okay, so it's been about 8 hours and our grains have expanded, and now we want to dump the water out and rinse these grains really well. Dump out all the water and fill it back up with water. Cover the lid with your hand and shake. And place it upside down into your sink. You want to fill this up with water and rinse these grains twice a day. I like to do it before I go to bed at night and then again in the morning when I wake up. Just fill it up with water, shake it really good, and place it in your sink to drain. After about 24 hours of letting these grains sprout and rinsing them twice a day, they're ready to dehydrate. Here's a close-up shot of what they should look like. They should have little tiny tails on them, and they're ready to go in the dehydrator. Go ahead and remove your Teflon sheet from your dehydrator tray and pour the sprouted grains directly on the mesh sheet. Spread the grains evenly so that they dry effectively. You're probably going to have to fill up about 4 or 5 trays depending on how much sprouts that you've used. Go ahead and dehydrate them until they're completely dry, about 24 hours. After your sprouts are thoroughly dried, and I mean thoroughly dried, dry them at least 24 hours or longer, and then take them out of the dehydrator. You can store them just as they are in a large glass jar in the fridge or in the freezer for a really long time. Make a lot so you have a lot on hand whenever you want to make anything that calls for flour, like pancakes or breads or fresh pasta. Of course, if you're making flour, you need a grain mill. I have one here from Blendtec, and it cost me I think around $150, $160. I don't recommend that you get a hand cranking mill. They're too much work and you'll end up never using it. Get a high quality one like this and you'll get the best tasting breads and baked goods you've ever tasted. It's well worth the investment, and this machine will last many, many years. The reason why it's so imperative that you freshly grind your grains is because whole grains contain delicate oils that go rancid very quickly. If you buy flour from a store, the oils have already gone bad and become carcinogenic. It only takes a couple of minutes to grind your grains, and I guarantee you will not be disappointed. Good, healthy food takes a bit of time, but your health and your taste buds will thank me. You're probably wondering why I'm teaching you how to make cooked bread, since all the other videos that I've made are about raw foods. Raw foods are wonderful, of course, and should make up about 60 to 70% of your diet. Eating 100% raw is actually just not practical for most people, and you can end up with some nutritional deficiencies. Only a small percentage of people can eat 100% raw successfully. Dairy products should be raw and grass-fed, and bone broths that are made from the bones of lamb, fish, turkey, chicken, and beef are actually very nourishing. Greens should actually be lightly cooked, such as Swiss chard and spinach and those types of greens, because they contain oxalic acids which bind to calcium. You could make these sprouts that we've made here into a raw cracker or bread, but eating sprouted breads that are cooked occasionally is fine. Remember, grains in any form should only be eaten occasionally. Focus more on vegetables, fruits, nuts, and seeds that are soaked, beans, eggs, raw dairy products, and grass-fed meats and bone broths. So the way we make our flour is we just want to pour our sprouted grains that have been thoroughly dried into our grain mill. Now make sure these are completely dry. If they have any bit of moisture whatsoever, you're going to ruin your grain mill. So just pour them in and turn it on, and the flour will come down here. I don't want to turn it on right now because this machine is really loud. So go ahead and pour these in, turn it on, and you're going to end up with flour. Okay, I've put my sprouts through my grain mill, and now we've got flour. Here's how it looks. If you don't want to go through that whole process of soaking and sprouting your grains, there's a quicker way of making this banana bread, but you're still fermenting your grains. What you do is just take your original whole grains that you bought and put them through your grain mill to make freshly ground flour. Take 3 cups of that flour, put it into a bowl, and add about a cup and a half of either kefir, yogurt, or whey. Mix it up and cover it and let that sit overnight. Then in the morning, add the rest of your ingredients and go ahead and bake your bread as you normally would. Okay, we've got all the ingredients we need for our banana bread. We've got 3 cups of freshly ground wheat and spelt sprouts, or if you've got your freshly ground grains that have soaked overnight in a cup and a half of kefir, yogurt, or whey, that's fine. Then we've got 3 pasture-raised eggs, 1/3 of a cup of maple syrup, 2 teaspoons of baking soda, 1/4 cup of preferably grass-fed melted butter, 2 bananas that we're going to mash up, and a teaspoon of salt. I want to remind you again to use the right kind of salt. This is real salt. It doesn't have any anti-caking chemicals, it doesn't have any bleach, and it has all its original minerals, and it has not been heated. Please, please use the right kind of salt. Go ahead and puree the bananas until they're completely blended. Lightly beat your eggs and start adding all of your ingredients to the flour. Add your melted butter, add your baking soda and your salt, add your maple syrup, and add your banana puree. Mix everything up until it's completely incorporated. Preheat your oven to 350. Butter and flour a cake pan or a bread loaf pan, and put in your batter. Put your bread into the oven and Let it cook for about an hour or until a knife comes out clean. This is what your banana bread should look like when it comes out of the oven. I ended up cooking this one a little over an hour. Please do not touch this bread for at least an hour until it cools, and don't cut it because it will just crumble apart. Serve it with lots of raw grass-fed butter and enjoy. After your bread has cooled completely, you can go ahead and slice it.